Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. I appreciate it. In your testimony, you state, quote, "Too often projects undergo unnecessarily lengthy reviews, and we need to be able to make the types of reforms that will expedite high-priority projects and identify best practices to guide future efforts," unquote. I couldn't agree with you more. As you know, in Nebraska, our Department of Roads, our cities, our counties, they've been very frustrated with the Federal Highway Administration's what I would call unpredictable approach to the environmental review process. You know that we have been trying to work on that. I don't believe that it comports with the performance-based, data-driven approach of MAP-21. I think those reviews need to be performance-oriented, not solely process-based, and certainly not inflexible. I appreciated your earlier comment about a concurrent review process where you can cut it down from 3 to 5 years to 18 months. That would be great. That would be great if we can do that. And I hope that the Federal Highway Administration is going to continue to work with Nebraska so we can get there. As you know, limited resources become even more stretched and stressed when we have a process that I believe is not working the way it's supposed to. What do you think we can do to be sure that that state of good repair projects within existing right-of-ways are exempt from what I would call a counterproductive consultation with regulatory agencies? And what's the value added to environmental protection by conducting even a CE level review on a resurfacing project or another project in an existing right-of-way where a transportation facility already exists? Do we have to study and document things over and over and over again and just pile up paper?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. And I know that specifically with respect to Nebraska, the Federal Highway Administration has been working very closely with the Nebraska Department of Roads, making a lot of progress on making greater use of categorical exclusions to expedite projects. And I think you're going to see some good news occurring there over the next several months. But more generally, the work of MAP-21 did some very important things to give the department tools to make greater use of categorical exclusions. But in addition to that, we have begun to take a look at the state review processes, and if they are redundant and essentially at the same standard the federal review would be, we've begun allowing some states to substitute their state review processes for the federal review processes, and Texas has just gone through that process. So we are working to expedite where we can. I want to emphasize that I think that through a new bill, Congress could give us additional tools to enable us to operationalize concurrent reviews. And again, I think we'll get perhaps even better environmental outcomes by doing it that way, because the environmental considerations get brought up early and dealt with early.
I would be very happy to work with you on those with my office, especially so we can stop the redundancy that I believe is happening. If we can move on to Tiger grants, do you think they're being distributed in a equal manner? I know that when we look at rural America, open country, small towns, it seems that we're not getting really Tiger funds in those areas. Can you tell me why that would be?
Well, a couple of points. The Tiger program requires a minimum of 20% of each round to be distributed into rural America.
And the definition of rural America at that point is?
I will have to have my staff confirm this, but I believe it is a community of 50,000 or fewer people.
I'm talking about very sparsely populated areas where in many cases there's one person per square mile. But yet in a state like Nebraska, we have miles and miles of roads that are necessary for commerce, for safety. And I would think we could look at maybe a new definition of rural America.
You know, we are following the statutory definition, but if there's a new definition, we will follow what this Congress tells us. But what I would also say are a couple of other points. We, in the last round, exceeded that 20% minimum. We think of it as a floor but not a ceiling. And we are looking constantly to make sure that we see good transformational projects across the country, wherever they happen to come from. Secondly, we have done more outreach to extend technical assistance to rural communities, because in some cases, it is the communities that have fewer tools, aren't able to hire fancy consultants to help prepare their applications, that sometimes don't get through. And so we want to make sure we're being as equitable as possible from that standpoint. So we will continue to work with you and others, but I also want to applaud Nebraska for the Omaha's Tiger Grant this last round for a bus rapid transit system, the very first in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Secretary. I appreciate your work.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Booker.
Yeah.